Welcome to a realm where the divine is not a savior, but a destroyer. These are the gods and goddesses from ancient myths, not ones you would pray to for blessings, but ones you would beg to stay away from. They are merciless, terrifying, and their power stretches beyond mortal comprehension. Their stories are filled with destruction, torment, and madness. Let's take a closer look at the top 10 most horrifying gods in mythological history. Be prepared for the chilling details that you're about to uncover. At number 1, we start with the Greek god Pan, a figure tied to the untamed forces of nature. Known as the god of wild places and shepherds, Pan was far more than a pastoral deity. His very presence could induce an overwhelming fear that caused people to flee without reason, a phenomenon that came to be known as panic. Legends say that Pan, with his eerie and unsettling appearance, could gaze upon mortals and instantly send them into fits of terror, their minds unraveling under the weight of his dark influence. But it's not just the fear he creates, it's his chaotic nature that makes Pan so terrifying. His lands were not places of comfort, they were wild, unpredictable, and filled with creatures born from madness. His followers, who were mostly satyrs and woodland spirits, reveled in the havoc and disorder that Pan caused. This god of the untamed wilderness brought terror to any who encountered him, often driving them mad with his presence. Imagine wandering through an unknown, mist-filled forest, only to feel that creeping dread and hear the sinister echo of hooves chasing you into the unknown. Lilith, the first wife of Adam in Jewish and Mesopotamian mythology, is a figure of ancient darkness. In some accounts, Lilith was created equal to Adam, but her refusal to submit to him led to her banishment from the Garden of Eden. From that moment on, she became a figure of vengeance and fury, a demoness who scorned humanity and vowed to wreak havoc upon it. Lilith's power lies in her ability to seduce and torment, especially the innocent. She is the night itself, dark, elusive, and filled with malice. According to myth, Lilith would prey upon newborn children, stealing their souls in the dead of night. In some traditions, she is believed to be the mother of all demons, her very existence tied to dark, forbidden knowledge. She is both an incubus and a succubus, using her powers to seduce men and prey upon their weaknesses. Her mythology is filled with torment, especially the fear she instills in mothers, who tell their children to sleep soundly, lest Lilith come to take them away in the dead of night. Tiamat, the great dragon goddess of the ancient Mesopotamian myths, represents the forces of primordial chaos. She is a creature born from the very foundations of the universe, existing before the world as we know it. As the goddess of salt water and chaos, Tiamat was the embodiment of disorder, her massive form an uncontainable force of nature. Her power was so vast that it threatened to unmake creation itself. In the Babylonian myth known as the Enuma Elish, Tiamat's rage is a central theme. When the younger gods attempted to challenge her dominance, she responded with violence and fury. Her body was said to be a vast sea, filled with monstrous creatures, ready to engulf anything in its path. The gods fought her in a cosmic battle, and it was only after her defeat that the world as we know it was created. But Tiamat's legacy of chaos remains. Her wrath is a reminder of the primordial void from which all things emerged, and which could easily consume everything once again. Baal, the storm god of ancient Canaanite religion, is both a harbinger of rain and an agent of destruction. He represents the raw, uncontrollable forces of nature, storms, thunder, and lightning. But Baal's cruelty is equally matched by his insatiable appetite for blood. As a god of fertility and harvest, his blessings came at a steep price. His followers were often required to sacrifice their children, offering them to him in the hope that the rains would come and the crops would flourish. Baal's cults were filled with horror, as entire cities would offer up their firstborn in his name, believing it was the only way to avert his wrath. In the ancient text of the Ugaritic tablets, Baal's confrontations with other gods highlight his violent nature. In his battle with Mot, the god of death, Baal's power is overwhelming, and the outcome leaves devastation in its wake. Baal's very name evokes terror, as he is a god whose mood could turn from merciful to deadly in the blink of an eye. Shub-Niggurath is a goddess from the terrifying world of HP. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, often described as the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, she is a primal force of corruption and decay, her power linked to fertility, but a grotesque and twisted version of it. Unlike other fertility gods, Shub-Niggurath's children are not human, they are horrific abominations that crawl from her writhing body. Her presence is tied to the dark corners of the universe, where she gives birth to nightmarish creatures, twisted beings that stalk the living, their very existence a challenge to sanity. Shub-Niggurath is a cosmic horror, a being whose influence warps reality itself, creating beings that exist only to feed on the living and bring death. Her cults are devoted to the dark, the forbidden, and the grotesque, often sacrificing those who stray too far into her domain. Azazel, a fallen angel in the Hebrew Bible, embodies rebellion and forbidden knowledge. In the Book of Enoch, Azazel is one of the Watcher's angels who descended to earth and corrupted humanity by teaching them the forbidden arts, metallurgy, magic, and warfare. Azazel's defiance against God led to his punishment, but his influence over humanity was far-reaching. Azazel is a god of dark wisdom, teaching humanity secrets that were never meant to be known. He is a figure who brings corruption with knowledge, his teachings sowing the seeds of destruction. Those who seek him out are often led to madness, as the wisdom he imparts is not for mortal minds, it destroys them. In the ancient texts, Azazel is associated with sin, and his punishment was eternal damnation, but his legacy of corruption lives on. Leviathan, the massive sea serpent from Judeo-Christian mythology, is a symbol of chaos and destruction. Mentioned in the Book of Job and later in Christian eschatology, Leviathan is a being so vast and terrifying that even the gods fear it. Described as a creature of the deep, Leviathan is tied to the concept of primal chaos, a being that could unmake the world itself if it were ever unleashed. In some traditions, Leviathan represents the forces of evil, a beast that stands in opposition to the order of creation. Its appearance is often tied to apocalyptic events, where it symbolizes the destruction of the old world. To face Leviathan is to face an unstoppable force, one that cannot be defeated by mortal means. Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of funerary rites and the afterlife, is both a guide and a judge for the dead. His role is to oversee the process of mummification, ensuring the deceased are properly prepared for the afterlife. Yet his domain over death is not without its dark aspects. Anubis is not merely a guardian, but a god who weighs the hearts of the dead against a feather, deciding their fate. While he is often portrayed as a protector, Anubis's judgment is harsh. Those who fail his test are cast into the pits of oblivion. His power over death and the souls of the deceased makes him a god of great fear, for in his gaze there is no mercy, only fate. Hel, the goddess of the Norse underworld, is a figure of cold, uncaring death. As the daughter of Loki, she rules over the realm where those who die of illness or old age are sent, a place of frozen sorrow. Hel's appearance is as chilling as her domain. Half of her face is beautiful, while the other half is a decaying, rotting corpse. Her rule is one of isolation and despair, where the souls of the dead are condemned to wander in eternal cold. Unlike other gods who bring death, Hel embodies the ultimate indifference of the afterlife, a realm where time itself seems to stand still, and the dead are trapped in endless frost. At number 10, we end with the ultimate eldritch horror, Cthulhu. Created by H.P. Lovecraft, this cosmic being is beyond comprehension. Described as a giant tentacled entity with the wings of a dragon, Cthulhu lies dormant beneath the sea, awaiting the moment when it will awaken and bring about the end of the world. His influence is vast, reaching into the minds of humans and driving them to madness. Worshipped by a cult of fanatics, Cthulhu represents the terror of the unknown and the cosmic insignificance of humanity. These are the gods and goddesses who reign over destruction, chaos, and fear. They are not the benevolent deities worshipped for protection and guidance, they are the ones you should fear. Ancient myths have always sought to explain the horrors of the world, and in these gods we see the darkness of the human imagination. Would you dare invoke their names? Followed by links to more videos on the darkest myths and gods from around the world, encouraging viewers to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying content.